go into a couple of the screens so you can see the information that you have. And you'll see that the information that we provide is a little bit different than what performance monitors provide. Okay. And the reason is, again, what are we interested in, when we look at, my system, and I want to be able to understand it. And we provide basically a quick reference as to how the system is operating and running. It'll give you the information from an operating system point of view. Okay, things like what the overall system CPU is, how much virtual storage you're using in real storage, how your MSU and MIPS are for this particular system. And it also gives you information about how your CICS is running, whether you've been short on storage, when you have any storage violations, how many tasks you've run, how many tasks are active right now, and that sort of thing, okay? And, how your DSAs are doing, have you hit the limits of your current use? And it's something that, I normally look at, and this is what it looks like. This is a particular, again, this is from a 6.2 system. The top part is the MBS part, and the bottom part is the CICS summary, okay? And as you can see, the first thing you can be able to see is, okay, well, how did I come up? I came up with the region M0 megabytes, which basically gives me the whole 2 gigabytes for it. It'll tell me what the average CPU is for the whole operating system, which is 2%. Okay. Again, remember, this is a test system. You won't see that on your systems, your production systems. And then it provides 3 important counters for you, which are very important. It'll provide the average UIC, which tells you, in this particular case, 65535, but it also provides you with 2 other rings. Are you paging at all in the system? And how many available frames do you have available? So in other words, I have 489,216 4K frames to be able to supply more information. This is the maximum you can have. This 3 things here tells you how well your real storage is doing. In this particular case, we have no problems. You're not paging. So if we're going to make any changes, for example, I wanted to increase, I wanted to add 1,020K buffers in my LSR pool. Well, this tells you that you don't have any paging problems and that you have plenty of spare pages available, frames available, for you to increase the amount of real storage that you have there. Okay? So this is one of the first things you do. Also, if you're running in an LPAR, it gives you the LPAR name to it. And it tells you how much the overall CPU that this CICS has used. Then it gives you how the different MBS areas are being used. Okay, and specifically the one that you're interested in is your mem limit. Okay, it tells you we are running with 10 gigabyte mem limit. Okay. Okay, then it gives you, okay, how's my real storage? I came up with 8 gigabytes. I'm currently using 6 gigabytes. Okay, when I IPL'd, I came up with 8 gigabytes. Okay, and what are the estimated total MIPS that we have for this system? What is the MSUs that we have available? And how many is my 4-hour MSU running? Which is 2. So this is, you're well within the region. You don't have a CPU problem in this particular case. Naturally, is a test system. And it also tells you how many general purpose CPUs, zips and zaps you have. So very quickly here, you can get a very quick picture, specifically in the real storage area, which is your main concern, okay, from a performance point of view for CICS. Okay, and the recommendation again is you don't want to be taking more than 5 pages per second, page in per second. So if you're paging in, over 5, and you want to increase 100 buffers, 20K buffers, you got to rethink about it because you're already paging. You may increase the paging that goes with that. Associated with this is the CICS portion. The CICS portion, basically, CICS can have many, many, many different TCBs, and this just tells you how much CPU time each one of the TCBs is used. Okay. Your L8 is your DB2 type environment. Your T8 or your Java type environment. Your RO is usually your communication with RACF and loading of programs into memory. Okay, your FO are basically handling things like opening and closing files. Okay, your main one is your QR, okay, which is your standard where most of CICS work occurs. Okay, if you're using PEPI, you know how much time your PEPI is using, and then on the other side you'll see, okay, of this 2%, okay, that's being used, how much is this CICS using? It's using 0.13. So it's less than 1% is being used. And it says CICS CPU utilization 13 and normalized CPU utilization, okay, because this is the total. For example, if I was running on a general purpose CPU where I was using two CPUs, 13 would be two CPUs being used, but the normalized would be only 6.5, okay? It would be 6% would be the normalized part. So this will tell you what, if you're looking at it from a complex point of view, you know, overall, and this would be the sum of all the CPUs, how much you're using. And this is normal from a DP2 installation. And you will see, you know, that these numbers will vary. You'll see this guy, you know, like have 80, and then it's a four-way CPU. So the average on a one CPU type environment is 20% on the complex part. Okay? You'll see again, it'll tell you whether you have any short on storage conditions, any times that SOS. If you're short on storage at this time in any one of these, if you had any short on storage conditions, any storage violations, and then it'll tell you this is what you have on your limit, and this is how much you're using right now. You've allocated, so you can get a quick glance to see that you're okay from a storage point of view. Okay. Again, pool max threads, are you using any pool max? How many transactions per second you're doing? What your max task is doing at that point? Have you been at max task? And again, your current number of tasks and the peak number of tasks. So you get a complete overall view of how your system is running with this display. And you keep hitting enter, and you'll see these numbers be changing as they go along. Okay. Any questions on that? Now, there's some additional things that you can do, and you see here it says PF12 display PF keys. If I hit PF4, I will get a screen that will give me all the TCVs that are being used by CICS. And every time I hit enter, it'll tell me how much CPU that particular TCV is using. You know, how my L8 TCVs, how much are they using at that point? If you keep hitting enter, you'll be able to see, you know, how the CPU, this CPU is spread out along this. If I hit, instead of hitting PF4, I hit PF9, it'll bring me all the address spaces and their CPU utilization for all the address spaces. Now, that's a pretty, you know, a big installation that can be 400, 500, 600 different address spaces. But if you hit PF4 at that screen, it'll give you in descending order which CICS address spaces are used, what address spaces are being used and how much CPU each one is using. Again, normally you won't see that in a CICS monitor. You'll see it in the MBS monitor portion that you have to switch over to. But here, you'll get that information here in this particular one. Okay. Any questions? Because this is one that you'll probably be looking at quite a bit.